Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores, or I go to estate sales, or sometimes I buy things from Craigslist, and I try to find out as much as I can about them, and then tell you guys about them. And apologies for the light being a bit weird. I'm actually filming, I usually film basically in the evening, where I just have an actual ring light and I probably control like the light levels and stuff. And to be honest, I'm not really very good at it, but you know, that's how I generally do things. Today, however, I'm filming during the day and in the morning because I think I need more light for this one. So here we go. I have this, and hopefully you're actually able to see it a little bit better. It's very dark, and I was really afraid that you just wouldn't be able to see any of the detail if I did this under my normal light. It looks pretty impressive though, doesn't it? Anyway, let's be very careful for a second and measure it up, and I'll explain what I've got in a second. I just down flat. Here is about, say, 6.5 inches tall. Knock the camera again, why don't you? And maybe, let's say the widest would maybe about 3.5 inches across. There we go. Okay, so basically what have we got here? We have a portable Buddhist shrine. This was kind of a really cool thing. I found it in a thrift store. I ended up buying it for $14.99, and I was just kind of fascinated by what it was. Now the cool thing about it is that obviously it opens up, and you can see there that you have obviously all of your Buddhist figures. Now I ended up finding out like all kinds of interesting information about, first of all, what these shrines were. Like they would have been used like back in the day. If I understand it correctly, you would have had like Buddhist travelers who kind of spread out all over Asia, and obviously they wanted stuff like this just to kind of bring their faith with them. And you know, they literally just like, you know, pack it up like this, carry it around, go on their pilgrimage, and when they wanted to pray, all they had to do was just set it up somewhere, and then there you go, portable altar. It's such a nice thing. And then there is actually a lot of history of like portable altars in general. In just about every religion in the world has something like it. You know, maybe even like you know, kind of traveling religious objects that they just kind of bring with them. Anyway, this particular one is kind of interesting because it's like, I actually picked it up thinking, oh, maybe this is an antique. It's not. It's actually made out of resin, and you know this because you can actually check. It's got a little bit, tiny little hole there. I was wondering maybe it had been wood, and I don't think it is. I think it's resin. You can tell by tapping it, I think. And you can see there's a very faint kind of red cast there. Someone actually suggests, oh, you know, it's wood or whatever. And I'm just like, no, I don't think so. I think it's resin. There's a lot of examples of this around the place. Like this, I think if it was old and made of wood, it would probably be much more damaged, and you can see the figures are all got a nice bit of detail on them. Like, you have to imagine that if this is made out of wood, all of these would be hand carved, and to be honest, I keep looking at them and I'm like, I cannot think that these would have been hand carved. It doesn't look correct. It looks cast, hence why I think it's probably resin. So what exactly are the figures here? As far as I can tell, I did some reading and managed to find like an entry in a guy's blog from 2008 who kind of talks a little bit about this exact altar. He actually says it's wood, and I think he's mistaken about that. This was an altar that he says belongs to his father, who has obviously had it for quite a while. And I suspect that this one is probably from the 1970s, 1980s, so kind of around that kind of time. I think that it is made of like a polyester, kind of poly resin, kind of essentially the red resin that you see a lot of kind of knickknacks and stuff made out of China, you know. Now obviously this one is unmarked, but I've seen similar examples that actually have Chinese stamps underneath, so I'm kind of thinking that it was likely made for use by someone who's Chinese. And again, I live in Vancouver. We have a very, very large population of Asian people who would have an interest in this kind of thing or would have a need for it. So the figures themselves, I'm just gonna leave that there. Let's see what we got. So here's a blog post, Dharma folk. I will leave a link down in the description if you want to take a look. Portable altar, and again, this was posted in 2008, so quite a while ago. Now, this is really nice because you can see from the picture if we compare it to this one, you can see that design on the front is basically exactly the same. So we know it's the same one. Now, it's a generic Pure Land. So, okay, the Pure Land Buddhism, if we just switch over to this, also referred to as Buddhism in English, is a broad branch of Mahayana Buddhism and one of the most widely practiced traditions of Buddhism in East Asia. So, I've done a little bit of reading as well on this, and again, I'll put a link down in the description if you're curious about it. Pure Land is a tradition of Buddhist teachings that are focused on the Buddha, if I'm pronouncing this right, Amitabha. I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to try and butcher that again. So we've got a little bit of information here. On the outside is written, Amitabha, Buddha's light is all illuminating and universal salvation. And what they're actually referring to is the writing here in Chinese on either side of where it opens, basically. The Chinese characters. Obviously, I can't read that. So it's very great. It's great that we actually have a translation of it. A little bit of stuff here about it, which is really nice. And the other thing is that it actually describes the inside, which is really great because I obviously don't understand a whole lot of it. So we can now reference the figures on the inside here and have a better idea of who exactly they are. So let's see. It folds shut, it locks without any kind of fastening device. This one says you have to press down the top and tilt to the side. To be honest, I just kind of pull top or bottom and it works. So who knows really. On the inside is a typical Chinese Pure Land trilogy triad. In the center is, and I keep having to do this, Amitabha Buddha. On either side sit Avalokitesvara and Mahastamaprapta, who represent the powers of compassion and wisdom. So, I mean, how very nice. You have your, three major figures or whatever like that, and essentially sitting down and with all of their followers behind them, I'm assuming. Not a whole lot of information apart from that. I found the blog post to be very nice. It kind of talks a little bit about these altars and everything, which is really lovely. And we have a few different, examples of it. Here's another picture of the inside. This again, how we know that this is the same altar. And a little bit more. It's like not a whole lot on the altar itself. There's a little bit of a discussion about the actual, the practice of Buddhism. Again, this is a Buddhist blog, which is very nice. So let's take a look over here. If we're actually just looking at Reddit Buddhist travel shrines, there are lots of them out there. Their prices are all over the place, and there's a fair number here that come up on the listings that would look kind of a bit cheaper than this one. They can and frequently are marked with kind of Chinese characters down at the bottom, like not anything saying like made in China or whatever, which kind of makes me suspect that this was possibly made for internal use, not for export, if you know what I mean. Because if it was actually made for export to someplace like North America, obviously it needs to have made in China on it in English, and it doesn't. It may have also had a sticker. Yeah, we don't really know. Now, unfortunately, this is another case of no one kind of really knows what it could be, and everyone kind of guesses about, oh, it's an antique or not. Like, it's probably not. To the best of my knowledge, and after taking a look at some of the listings here, you can see these for sale for anything from like, I don't know, $50 up to several $100. But they're really not, they're not kind of anything kind of special. There's quite a number of them around. This one here with the kind of the ribbed top, I see this a little bit more frequently, and that kind of seems to be a little bit cheaper. That one seems to actually be recognized as one that's made out of resin. I suspect that the one that I'm holding here, it is still vintage. A little bit of damage, which, to be honest, at the back is not that, it's not that bad. I would say it's probably worth maybe $40 or $50 at most. That said, however, I may not list this on eBay. I'm probably going to take it over to the local Buddhist temple and offer it to them first, because it being a religious object, I'm fairly sure that there's someone there who is going to like it and possibly use it more than I would for just selling it. I mean, I've had it because I like the interest, and I certainly find it it's such a fascinating little object in its own right. But it's very much like it's a religious thing, and I'm sure someone's going to like it who's actually practices that religion, which is unfortunately not me. So here you go. Here's my small joyful thing for the day. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Bye bye.